It's that time again.
Watch out! Here it comes. Watch out! Here it comes. Watch out! Here it comes. Watch out!
It's on the Courtside Podcast. I'm your host, Wayno, and with me, a special guest today. You might know him as a pioneer on the Sydney hip-hop scene. You might also know him with tracks like Gully Snuff, Speak Less, Breathe, Identity Crisis, and his new track coming out, Prayer Hand Emoji. Hosts heading into their second season of the Godzilla Podcast. Lakers enthusiast, Ninja Turtles fan, all-round nice guy, Lee Monro. Lee, welcome to the show.
That's epic.
I threw it all at you.
Like, I love the intro, but I just always feel like I've got to come with like or something.
We've got sound bites. Don't worry, I'll add it in.
Yeah, sure.
Some Jeopardy music or something.
It's like I always feel compelled, you know. Like I don't know, maybe it's the hype guy in me, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, is there anything I mean? Like, obviously, you and I, we've actually known each other for many years now. I was thinking back the other day, we met through a mutual friend, and as I said in the intro, I was always blown away at your Ninja Turtles collection.
It still exists, eh?
It was epic. You've still got them in like packs and shit, right?
Yeah, I really do. It's and my fiance, she actually got me a full cabinet because like, you know, over the years and like moving and everything, they were just in like boxes.
Yeah.
So I recently got a cabinet where, funnily enough, all those basketball trophies from when I was like, I don't know, 12.
Yeah.
They got some space in there as well with some like, you know, old basketball cards as well. So it's actually a little shrine in the corner of the house. So
you've got a display cabinet, right on. That's awesome. Hey, was there anything I missed? Was there anything I missed in that intro? Is there anything people should know about that maybe I breezed over?
No, not really. I mean, you know, props for not mentioning the Fit Kid thing, but I think I've got to own it these days. So, you know, you might also know me as Fit Kid, I suppose. So
yeah. Well, we'll get into that, I'm sure. Like,
yeah.
Look, I swear to God, all my friends are Laker fans.
Oh,
it's actually ridiculous the amount of friends I have. You are like probably the third Laker friend, but I've got about six mates who are actually like massive Laker fans. So I suppose we should get into it. We should talk some hoops.
Oh, okay. I'm about it.
What?
I'm about it.
What was?
You know, my number plates just got updated.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Speaking of like hectic fiance gifts, she for Christmas, if you see a 4 territory with Laker and then a 5 instead of the S, then it's your boy.
Mackenzie's the real MVP. Okay.
Mackenzie truly is the real MVP. Bro.
That's awesome.
I was, you know, when you like sort of stunned, it's actually so like up there on the fan status. You're like, yo, like,
holy crap,
this is commitment. Like,
yeah.
No, I really can't be anything other than like.
So look, familiarise the audience. What was your origin story? What was your introduction to hoops? Whether it be like playing or whether it be like, you know, NBA.
I mean, it was NBA. I think like a lot of people, but I will sort of say like, you know, obviously, you know, the early 90s, even late 80s, you know, but it really sort of came to a peak, you know, Barkley era, Jordan sort of first 3 championships, and it was just going absolutely global.
Yeah.
You know, the Barcelona Olympics, just all the hype. It was just, you couldn't escape it. And I think, and I say this a lot, you know, when I was young though, the NBL was actually at quite a peak too, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Epic players, you know, great imports, and the Kings were basically like the Lakers, essentially of Australia. You know, they even had the purple and gold, and you know, it was exciting to go watch a Kings game. But I think that around that sort of 1990, 91, 92 period, the other thing that was crazy was basketball players would you know, go out and reach out to schools and do these like introductory programs that really excited kids, you know, and schools were investing in hoops. And I remember, man, Playground 3, you know, it was all concrete in primary school in Sefton, and they bought these hoops, and we literally did an introductory basketball course like there, and I would have been in year 4 or 5 at the time, and I just remember just being like obsessed with it, you know, just loved the game, and obviously with the hype of everything around, and then seeing these absolute monster superhuman men, you know, at school, it just really drove it home for me, you know, and then from then on it was just, you know,
I'm all in.
All in, yeah, 100%. I was, you know, it carried into obviously early years of high school, going down to the card shack at Bankstown. And,
you
know,
man, yeah, it brings back memories. I always say on the show that, you know, exactly like you said, like, back then, like, these guys were our heroes, you know, and there was no internet. Like, the back of a basketball card was our internet.
You know what the crazy thing is there's actually the Dr. J documentary, and Chuck D is doing the narrative at the start.
Yeah.
And he has this whole spiel on legends, right? And he's sort of like, you know, these days legends are hard to come by because it would, like, you know, back in the day it was all word of mouth. It was all like, you know, you're hearing of legends. Yeah. And you're right, it was the back of a basketball card. It might have been like some skint highlight that you saw, you know, and you'd be lucky, you know. I remember... Bro, this is so funny because I was watching an interview on him the other day, but I remember, like, you know, you'd find your obscure basketball player on a team, like Richard Dumas on the Phoenix Suns as a rookie in 1993, and I remember just being obsessed with this guy because he was coming in, he was early, you know, and then wondering where he went, only to find out he became a crackhead. But back in the day, you didn't know. You just sort of saw these legendary characters, and then you're scrapping to find information on them, and then they disappear, and we don't know the politics and everything when we're young, and you know. So it was like stuff of legends. You're right.
Or you're waiting for a slam mag that's 3 months behind to come out and hit the shelf to read an article.
Yeah, that's import. That's the most up to date, right? That's like you know, you paid top dollar for that puppy because it was the earliest one in the country. But yeah. Absolutely,
it's crazy.
Yeah, bro.
Now, obviously, we should touch on it because I know you're a big Lakers fan, and we've recently been discussing on the show because we obviously hit the 1 year anniversary of Kobe Bryant passing away.
Yeah,
man. It just feels like we all grew up with him, especially from our era.
Yes.
You know, like this kid out of high school, and, you know, to watch this guy develop, like, I'm going to put my hand up straight away. Like, you know, after that dunk comp, I was like, man, this young, cocky kid, fuck that guy, yo. But, you know, over the years and the trials and tribulation, you know, you really did, like, even if you hated Kobe, which is not to say I do now or anything like that, but you respected the shit out of him, you know, like to conquer the Celtics, to you know, win chips and prove everyone wrong without Shaq and stuff like that. I mean, we go all day talking about Cobes, but I suppose I'll just ask for maybe a favourite Kobe memory and maybe just where you were when you heard the news.
Favourite Kobe memory was literally, well, championship number 5 and 6. You know, essentially was really the proving ground because, I didn't like a lot of the crap that was hung on him, you know, particularly given all the politics that happened around the Shaq thing. And that was relatively ugly as far as the media and stuff went, you know. But to see him, like, be beat down for those, you know, seasons in between and just go through all those phases, you know, and essentially, you know, got to a bit of a point where you felt as though, oh man, like maybe those championships really were Shaq's, you know?
Yeah, especially after Shaq left and won one in Miami with Wade.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, oh, you know? Wait.
And, you know, the thing is like you actually, like I actually love Shaq, you know, because, you know, what he did for the Lakers and what he brought to the league in terms of like, he really was sort of like one of the, especially when he was younger, like one of those first guys that came into the league that I suppose like changed the way a 7-footer sort of moved. But, you know, back to the Kobe thing, it was like really, you know, winning with Pau Gasol and you know, even like having like Lamar Odom and Meta World Peace and, you know, like those sorts of like characters in the mix, like, you know, it really was a testament to what he would do, you know, or could do.
Yeah.
And I think cemented like his sort of place. But as far as I felt a bit funny, and I'll tell you where I was when I heard about his passing. The funny thing is, because he went off the radar, you know, and really, and he sort of said it in interviews, you know, he sort of said, you know, like, I really didn't care about basketball for a while. Like, you know, he'd given so much to the game that he really wanted to check entirely out. And as he was just starting to re-inject himself with GG and stuff into what, you know, being front row in games and stuff. And, you know, it was pleasant to see him back in the mix. But simultaneously, you felt, I suppose, a little bit of disconnect from him, even though, like, bro, I've got like 6 or 7 Kobe jerseys, you know. I'm not like one of those suckers that pay for those like heavy duty $400.
Oh shit! Really?
Joints. Oh yeah, bro. I just got one recently.
That's the best.
I'm a massive sucker, you know. But when he retired in 16, I've got 24 and 8 on my forearms. Like, I'm that sort of guy, right? But him being out for a little while and so disconnected from the world of hoops, you know, you sort of felt a little bit away from him. And so for him to start coming back, it was really pleasant to see, and you started to get, okay, cool, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? Yeah. But it's almost like you're rebuilding another relationship with him as a fan to see what he was going to do. Now, I was actually at Mackenzie's folks' place. I woke up and, you know, you go on your morning scroll. Yeah. And, man, I was just on Insta, and I scrolled, and, man, I saw, I think... it was a Bleacher Report post, and at first I thought it was a bullshit meme.
Everyone did, right? Everyone did.
I just was like...
disbelief.
What sort of sick son of a bitch, you know? Like, but then... and then it was Bleacher Report, and, man, I just, like, my heart stunk, you know, my tears started welling up in my eyes.
Yeah.
And I sort of still was a bit disbelief, and I still kept scrolling, and yeah, man, then everything started flooding in, and, you know, the reports and stuff, and you know, everybody else in the house. And here's the fucked up thing: Mackenzie is a massive ball fan as well. Like, you know, really? She's a massive Jazz fan, and she, you know, we watch, you know, sometimes 2 or 3 games a day. You know,
how happy would she be this season?
Hey,
I said, and how happy would she be this season?
And how arrogant she is this season? No. Yeah, absolutely. But it's a long season.
Don't throw me under the bus, bro.
and I tell her it's a long season. And, you know, it doesn't matter what you're doing in the regular, you know.
Said like a true Lakers fan.
They're not resting. Yeah, bro. Like,
I love it.
You know, like, Shaq had some, like, great advice for Donovan the other day. Like, you know, he doesn't believe he's got what it takes. And he said that for him. No, anyway, so. But, you know, I kept scrolling, and when man, and Mackenzie's dad as well used to play basketball for NZ, and he still coaches. He's just started coaching again in Sydney for high school basketball. So he's a massive basketball fan too.
Nice.
And I was the one that had to break the news to everyone. And everyone, it just was such a somber minute, like, where everyone was like, fucking no way, that cannot be real. And, man, I looked down at my forearms, and, like, I just fucking had this moment. I literally had my Lakers shorts on at that time. My fucking Kobe jersey was literally in my bag for staying the night there. You know, they were at Manly, so, you know, I've got, you know, 24 and 8 tattooed on my arms at this point, and I'm just sitting there, and I didn't even realize how much of an impact this guy had necessarily on my life until I'm fucking sitting in that moment. And man, I just couldn't help it. I started crying, and you know, it was so, you know, I'm not one to really mourn people. Like, I actually feel like, you know, death sometimes is a celebration. So you know, of someone's life, but at that moment, I suppose a little bit personally, I actually then really absorbed, you know, the impact that he had as a player and as a person, and as an inspiration on my life, and I just, bro, just knocked me for 6. I actually, if I caught myself in the moment for a week after that, I literally had probably about 3 or 4 moments where I was just alone, and I cried about it as a grown man, and I just thought,
that's fine though. Like, I don't think people, you know, just talking to courtside fans and stuff like that when it all went down. And obviously, you know, I record with my two co-hosts are both Laker fans as well, and just like chatting to them, and I was like, man, don't shy away from that stuff. You can't bottle those kind of emotions. Like I said, it's like we basically grew up with this kid, watched this kid grow up before our very eyes. Like,
without a doubt, man. And, these guys that, it's bigger than sports. These guys are inspiration for life, and it's funny because sometimes, it's watching their games or watching what they do, watching their greatness, and you don't realize, but subconsciously, sometimes it's what motivates you and actually gets you through, I don't know, a day of work, a game or whatever it is, and it's sad that sometimes, we're so caught up in the politics and the bullshit that we don't, while they're here, celebrate them, as much as maybe we should.
Yeah.
And then even when you do, when they're taken, you're taken aback because you think that, they're heroes, man, that you feel like they're going to be there forever.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
So it's pretty crazy. But, what was fucking beautiful to see, man, like, you felt as well, though, the player, you felt part of a bigger community and a bigger group of people because, man, like I got Kobe actually tattooed on my hand, like a portrait of him.
Yeah.
And, man, to have people recognise him and from all walks of life, say when I'm at work and they'll say, hey, man, is that Kobe on your hand? And, I'll say, yeah. And they'll be like, wow, man, like props,
Yeah.
Man, they just have, there's never a negative thing to say about it, Yeah. It's crazy.
Oh, man, a bit somber. Let's turn it around. But thanks for sharing that, man, because I know, like, a lot of people don't. Yeah. Look, you guys are coming off last year's chip in the bubble. We've debated on the show many times that was probably the hardest chip to win.
I mean, look, it's for different reasons, I can only imagine as an NBA player and the immense amount of pressure that's put on these guys to win and train and, be at the top level. Me personally, I wouldn't say it would be the hardest chip to win. However, simultaneously, if anyone sort of turned around to say that it was an easier chip to win, I feel would be a bit rich as well, just because, and, as LeBron sort of said, the being away from family, being away from friends, being, not being in a place where, you could go and switch off and get that downtime. It was basketball
24/7,
24/7. And if you could imagine, team dynamic and rapport and culture is of the utmost importance. And like, if you're stuck with potentially somebody that you slightly don't get along with,
everything's going to be magnified tenfold. Right?
So
I'm like, because I was thinking about not so long ago as well, and I was just like, imagine being stuck at work for days and not being able to come home.
Imagine being stuck, right, with Pat Beverly. Right? 24/7.
I'm sorry, but Jared Dudley, being stuck with Jared Dudley, my man, but
bro, running joke in my house, right? I swear to God, I sent Mackenzie the other day. I got this fucking video clip, bro. I gotta send it to you. It's of Jared Dudley. I don't even know where it is on my phone. It's the limited fucking call time he gets, and he still manages to fuck up. Man. I can't believe that, man.
Man, I believe it because, I've had my eye since he came. He was a rookie with the Bobcats, came in the league with cornrows, and then I remember when he went to Phoenix, he was like this weird kind of pudgy 3-point specialist, and it was like there was all this again, like some article I had read and how he was taking up Nash's advice on his like dietary bullshit, eating seeds and shit. Man, that didn't last long.
But can I tell you something?
Yeah.
The fucking quotable of the fucking 2020-2021 season was when the Lakers were making a few shit. Wait. When the Lakers were making a few shifts to pad the team out, Jared Dudley was quoted as saying, if they need to trade him for another superstar for the best interest of the team,
he'd be okay with it.
He's okay with it.
What a fucking honourable guy.
Bro, that cunt wouldn't even get a fucking third string up at the corner, bro.
He'd struggle in the NBL, man. Like, he's struggling like Wednesday night comp.
He's fucking 8th man off the bench with the
Jesus Christ.
some fucking defunct, I don't know, Gold Coast Rollers.
Shit. Well, hey, I hear the Tassie Devils are coming back, so maybe there's a roster spot, right?
Razorbacks, baby. Like, I'd kick him out.
Used to love that squad.
Yeah,
thoughts on this season? That Detroit loss really stunk.
Oh, bro. You know what? And I always just hate when, look, LeBron sets himself up for it. But, whenever there's a highlight of LeBron just being a wanker corn, like, oh, where's the foul? And if Blake Griffin, is laughing it off because he got you, and then you lose. It is a bit of a joke. And that was, I think that broke a streak for us. I think we were undefeated still at home at that stage. Or it was the game prior to that, actually. I think those two sort of road losses sort of sucked. But that being said, the interesting thing for me is just the load management, and the game these days, it always surprises me. I can never tell, no one's going to try and break the Golden State record of wins per season. Now everyone's about chipping away, just putting themselves in, contention, staying in the 8. And I think really trying to calculate, cool, where do we want to be placed, in order to chip away and get deep into a run, so we got a title opportunity. Yeah. So look, I feel really good at it. The only one thing that I probably, but this is just an emotional thing, is that I love, like, I've been following the Alex Caruso story.
Oh, man.
Like, I literally bought an AC Fresh 21. She's a massive fan of him. Like, when you're a balding 25-year-old man dunking it like a maniac and just being a real culture contributor. And, man, his energy, he can score 4 points a game in a game and be the reason, though. It might have been the dunk. It was
a crucial steal that led to the fast break, or I totally know what you mean. Like, to some extent, I'm kind of like, I know they made the big move and brought in Dennis Schroeder, but I'm like, why isn't this kid starting, man? I feel like he deserved it last year.
Actually, well, he got a few starts, but
hand him the keys.
But I know, like, look. Part of me is all for it, but also part of me sort of understands. Like, I'm really happy with Horton Tucker this season as well, and how he's.
Oh my goodness, he is a gem, right?
Well, the weird thing is I just, it's crazy how much of a breakout he's had. Even to a point where he's getting utilised so much more than AC. But Harold coming in and just giving us like a more dynamic big, initially the emotional part of you want McGee in there, you want Dwight after that fucking amazing season where you're like, look, you've been a dickhead, but you finally ate your, hat and you came in where you needed to come in and you got a championship out of it and were an integral part, Yeah. I'm glad to see the tail end of Danny Green because just when it actually comes to times that count, he's not there.
Yeah.
So I feel as though overall it's a more sound team. I suppose that it's just, I hate to say it, but and I'm a massive LeBron, hey?
Marc Gasol.
Man, that's a 3-point just waiting to happen, man. You know what? Man, if you just get all his passing highlight reels, then he looks like an absolute fucking maniac on the court, right? Like he's a...
Yeah.
Look, the only thing is that, like, I fucking hate to say this because, like I say, I'm a massive LeBron fan, but it's starting to wear him, I feel, getting deep and being able to maintain over the entire core of our season, Yeah. So having those other scoring, players like Schroeder, which I'm actually fucking super surprised with how effective he is, Yeah. Kuz, I don't know about Kuz. I've never been really sold on Kuz, so.
There's games where he looks great.
Yeah.
But then there's games where it looks like he just wet the bed.
There's games where he looks like a man, and then there's games where he looks like how old he looks like.
Yes.
Which is about 16. Right? His facial hair's never kicking in, all right? Like, let's be real.
Forever bum fluff.
Yeah, absolutely. He can, and he's, like, it's all about brand and marketing, right? And that guy's never got a consistent haircut and then fucking style. So he's just got to get it together. But yeah, so it will be interesting to see this season, man. Like, and it'll be interesting to see the new guys how they maintain down the stretch? You know, are they going to step up and be real contributors? Because essentially those other pieces that they've put in there aren't playoff guys. You know, they're season guys. So, and we all know that, it's a different game when it's playoffs.
It's like the second season starts, really.
100%. So, you know, optimistic. Put it this way, we didn't even look. We won a bubble chip, and the year before we weren't even in the playoffs. So I mean, it can go either way, can't it?
Turnaround's pretty good. Yeah, definitely. Just before we jump off the hoops talk, is there anyone in particular you've got your eye on right now in the league? Like, is anyone that you've, Lakers games aside, is there anyone that you've sort of just watching, going,
You mean out of Lakers or
out of Lakers? Yeah.
Man, you'll like this. And, we've had a few comments back and forth, on the facey, but I'm a massive Morant fan.
Oh, man, he's so good.
Everything he brought to that first season was just insane, to a point where my second, the team that I'm high-key rooting for Lakers, obviously, 24/7, but I'm low-key
Grizz fan.
Nice.
Yeah. I like it.
And it's mainly, when you see those NBA players, I mean, I know we all cringe, but, they're like, oh, no, what? I'm a fan of players.
Yeah.
Pick a team and run with it, cunt. But anyways.
I don't follow a team. I only fan players.
But for me, my player is Ja. But same rookie class, man, because I really want some young guys. I want to see Kobe White do more damage.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, man.
Pick.
There's something about me that nostalgia reasons just wants to see the Bulls win, and I feel like, Kobe has potential even though he didn't get really utilised last season, but he's coming into it this season.
Yeah, I think that was a coach thing, though, last year.
It was, certainly, 110% it was, and there was no secret about it. But you know what sold me on that guy?
What's that?
His reaction in the draft when his mate got drafted.
Oh, yeah.
I watched that clip.
Just genuinely happy.
He actually, his whole demeanor changed from yeah, to oh, what? He was so genuinely happy for someone else that I just was like, yo, that selflessness and genuine care, I hope that gets, really amplified.
Yeah.
And then I'm just happy about the Zion thing and him turning around this season and not blowing his bloody knees out. Thus, at the moment, being productive.
Yeah.
So,
nice. Solid picks. Solid pick. Well, look.
And Gordon Hayward, come on. I've got to give the boy Gordon Hayward and Charlotte a little bit of a mention, He's been fucking chugging up some numbers there.
You are basically ticking boxes of our last two shows.
Yes. Oh, really?
Yeah, 100%. Vince gave Gordon Hayward the Jersey Worthy Award.
Right.
We talked about, at least the mini-sode today actually just talking about Ja Morant and if you had to redraft that and what's going on with the Pelicans and Zion, and it's pretty funny that you mentioned all those things. That's great.
I feel like now I'm just boring.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I'm just reiterating greatness.
Yeah. I'll take it. Hey, we should jump into a bit of your backstory for people who don't know you. Obviously, I'm not in the scene at all, so I follow the Aussie hip-hop scene from a distance. But for me, I really feel like you, I suppose, getting signed at such a young age, you broke a few barriers, man.
Yeah, man. 100%.
What was that like being signed? I mean, obviously, the hype and the excitement of all that, but what was that like? And looking back on that, what's the... I'm sure you're more than aware now of any sort of pitfalls that happen over the years. But what's some of the things that sort of stood out over that time being signed and being Fig Kid, I suppose.
Yeah, man.
Loaded question, I know.
No, but no, that's all right. I suppose. Let me just get my shit together. Man, it was pretty crazy. I have to say, I was working hard to a goal. Quite blindly. I mean, as well as I do back in the day, being young hip-hop enthusiasts and just hip-hop in general, obviously not located to here because there wasn't really much going on here. I was just, again, similar to Ball, just quite obsessive and a massive fan and emulated and just wanted to, it got to a point where I just wanted to contribute my part, and I found like-minded people that wanted to work towards a goal, and, ultimately, it was one of those things where it was like, well, I'm young. Somebody else wants to put time into it, is as committed as I am. So, I mean, I really don't have much to lose. I have a job and it's doing something that I love and I'm passionate about, And then it was just about the work. And it took me about 2 years, from about 18 to 20, but 19 is where I saw a turnaround. And my manager, Louie, at the time, she had her foot in the door with a few, just music people. I wouldn't even say necessarily labels at that time, but she was really good with connecting and just moving around. And I had aligned myself with her. And as we developed a sound and a project, she had turned around and managed to build some interest. Now, as that was happening, I was just, within my peers, I was a bit of a standout. But then sitting with someone and developing an idea, then you're going to be a cut above, people that are doing it as a hobby because you're dedicating so much time. And we were able to sort of pitch it to labels and garner some interest. And I tell this story because it's indicative of how she really thought of things. But, man, she was an out-of-the-box thinker. And she actually there was one stage where I was writing music and it sort of had a bit of a similar timbre to Eminem, like it was humorous.
People made the comparisons and whatnot. Like that's
100%. It was humorous, it was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but also it was a bit nasally, and so her thought process was like, okay, cool, if it's gonna draw these comparisons, the person that I want to mix it is Eminem's engineer, because then that way he knows what not to do for us, basically. So she literally just called Shady Records, and funnily enough, she actually piqued the interest of Joel Martin, who's actually Eminem's publisher and has been since he was 14, or 15 or something like that. And when he heard why she wanted to talk to, Eminem's engineer, when he heard that, he was like, okay, this is interesting. And because it's a big business in the States, he's like, I better keep my eye on it. He reached out to her and said, hey, let's just stay in touch, right? So fast forward a little bit, and she's then begun to talk to Joel as a mentor for a while there. But because he had much love for what we were doing and really appreciated it and liked the thought process and where it was going from a musical standpoint, he then just started to throw us all these connects. So it was a lot easier for then us to pitch it to Sony, because we basically had this big association in the States. Yeah. And so Louis was able to put the budgets together and essentially make it sound, like a good investment.
What's that? What is that, like 2004 or something?
03.
03,
is
right.
when we signed. Yeah, 03. Middle of 03 is when we signed, and then late 04 is when it came out, because early 04 I was in LA mixing and mastering and recording some last singles and doing some writing over there.
It's so funny, man, because I met you through a mutual friend just before, I think it must have been around like when you just got signed, because I remember my mate telling me, oh, he's off in LA now, and I was like, oh, there goes that guy. It was nice meeting him.
Yeah, it was good for
because you were gone for a while, right?
Yeah, it was a couple of months. Yeah. It was actually man, let's talk like not to go too crazy on the hoops again, but man, massive highlight was sitting in LA in 04, because like you got to remember as well, in 04 Allstar weekend was there. I was there for that.
Nice.
In LA, and fuck, what a party, bro! Like,
nice.
I went to Shaq's private All-Star party, man. Met Tracy McGrady, met Shaq, met Busta Rhymes, met Lennox Lewis, Snoop Dogg was there, Joe Budden was there, Public Enemy was there. Like, it was just
wow,
crazy, bro. And I think 03, 04, no, I remember a playoffs. It was a Derek Fisher. I was in the lobby sitting in the hotel and watching it with like the night security. I was watching the replay, and Derek Fisher, that shot he got off in like 0 point something.
Against the Spurs, was it?
Say again?
Was it against the Spurs? Is that
yeah, one? And he just flung it. And it hit, and I just remember being in the lobby at like some stupid time, just going nutso. Yeah, and security. So it was crazy, man. It was a crazy time. But yeah, I was there for a while, about 6 months. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. I looking back though, speaking of like pitfalls and stuff like that and positive aspects, like fuck man, like it's everything a kid will ask for, you know, and more. But I probably wasn't as business savvy about it, and you know, being a young kid from Bankstown, that you know, my parents basically, I was out of home pretty early, so I was pretty much doing what I chose to do. I didn't have you know, many people around me. It was just me and Louis. So I had like obviously MCs, you know, Bishop, you know, Chapel, you know, and the homies and stuff like that. But as far as like making, nobody knew about music. Nobody knew, you know. So as far as making like good music business decisions, man, I just wish I had stuck it out, because there was still a lot to go for Fig Kid, but mentally I was burnt out, you know. So I ended up taking a bit of obviously, as you know, a bit of a hiatus. But yeah, man. And the other thing is that was really tough was, you know, the scene here back then as well, it was really cutthroat. You know, every MC is trying to get up, get a name, this, that, the other. But the internet was coming in heavy, and this is when downloads and pirating started, and forums and people talking and chatting. And one thing, you know, with me is that, you know, I never stood down from a confrontation. I never stood down from, you know, saying my piece. And one thing that really pissed me off is a lot of people online would talk shit.
Yeah.
But then when you'd go out and you'd see them,
all smiles, huh?
Yeah, it's either all smiles or like you're just waiting for something to pop off, because it's real. And, you know, you didn't know how to, you know, navigate that in your mind, because like as far as you were, you know, as far as you knew, like, or as far as we knew, it was like, what you say is what you do.
Yeah. You
know, but all of a sudden, you're not dealing with kids from Bankstown. You're dealing with kids from other areas where it's not what you say is what you do. It's just empty threats and people hiding behind online personas and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, with regards to that, it just did my head in, man. And so, I don't know, just constantly trying to appease these guys, these ultra critics who never had the nuts to really stand up to me, man. That took me a long time to wean that out of my mind. So obviously my perception of stuff is different now these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like still absolutely count my blessings, man, and then certainly know that it, you know, took a lot of hard work, but it well and truly paid off, because I still to this date have done things that I only would have dreamed that I would have done, you know, in this lifetime, and still done things that people in the scene and whatnot haven't done, you know, themselves in the current climate.
Yeah,
as far as it goes, you know.
Man, big fan, big fan. I love all the new stuff you're putting out, and like just the step away from being Fig Kid and that persona. And you know, you touched on it. You know, at times it definitely, you know, would have been a bit of a burden for you, but man, the stuff you're doing now as Lee Monro is, man, I fucking love it. You know, I love it.
Yeah, I know. It's your T-shirt's still here, mate.
Keep it. It's fine.
Nah, you're getting it. I don't give a shit. You're cool. But you're gaining interest as well. Like, you know, like next thing you know, it's going to be a T-shirt. There's going to be a T-shirt and a couple of stickers, a fucking T-shirt, a couple of stickers, CD, and a fucking ticket to the next show. You know, like
awesome.
So, but yeah, man, like I have to say that. Taking the time, like, because I've had a couple of phases with the whole Lee thing as well, you know, and you would know after that I went and, you know, went into a duo with LOC.
Yeah. Overtime?
Overtimers, yep, and Overtime 1, 2, and OT3. And that was, you know, that in itself was a great journey as well, man. I actually started to put that work in, and that work started to pay off as well, because we actually had the distribution deal for OT3 over in the States with Soul Spasm Records. And
yeah. I feel like that really, like those mixtapes really started to shape your new sound.
Absolutely, bro. I went into it first with an American accent and started, you know, messing with my natural sound sort of halfway through. And I felt as though I started to really develop a flow, because your whole writing has to change and stuff as well. And then obviously the Lee and Ello thing fizzled out, where we parted ways. But the funny thing was, now I reflect on it, but I think I was probably not fully confident to go out, the solo artist initially. So I jumped in with a duo, and you know, so I only have to carry half the responsibility. And after moving on from the LMXCC stuff, then it was really coming out and being pretty pissed off, and you know, doing tracks like Over and Over and Click Clack and Whatever, and these real angsty fuck you tracks. After I got that out of my system and all that, and started to feel a bit more at peace with it, then I was able to write stuff which I'm the most happy with, I can do a cheeky bar out thing with, church or, speak less or free really speaks to me finding my footing as being, owning my responsibility for being an older guy now with all this experience. I don't want these kids to burn out, and I want to pay homage and respect what's going on, but also, just tread the game carefully because, it can eat these kids up, man, and spit them out, mentally and physically. So now I suppose I'm just, utilising the skill to probably be a little bit more, preachy and mindful of the next gen,
Yeah, showing the new generation to a bit, show them how to avoid the pitfalls, I suppose.
Straight up, man. I would hate for somebody to have the opportunities that I have on their plate and maybe see it slip through their fingers the way that I did a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, it's so funny, man. Like, even still, like, it was so funny. Like, I'm shopping before a pram today, and I have the girl in the that's serving me in the store. Even she was like, "And you're a fit kid, weren't you?" And I'm like,
"Wow,
Jesus, bro! It still happens. People still to this day, like, literally within the last, couple of months, people have come up and said like, "Hey, you used to rap, hey?" I'm like, "No, I still rap.
Still
bro.
rap,
It's
bro."
like a twisted down that fucking single here, but yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
So yeah, someone will stick with me for life.
Your transition, because obviously you're handling all this stuff and you're putting the time in the lab and putting out new music. But I've got to say, when I watched the first episode of the Godzilla podcast, man, I was really happy for you because I was like, this is like, you are like the perfect guy for that and this platform, like just with all your experience and, and your connects and stuff like that. But the show's fantastic. I love season 1. You got season 2. Does the first episode drop yet? Well, that's really soon, right?
Literally tomorrow.
Tomorrow, right. So, look, tell us a bit about Godzilla Pod. Is it God Pod or Godzilla Podcast?
So I'll clear that up for you.
Okay.
So it was Godzilla Podcast, and we were just testing the waters, you know what I mean? Just seeing what we could do with it.
Yeah.
We managed to get the 20 episodes out last year. Bit of chop and change as we go. We went from weekly. That was tough to maintain after a little while, so then we went to fortnightly.
Yeah.
And you know as well as I do, man, it's just about teeing people up and working on everyone's schedules and blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
So we found a bit of a groove by the end of it, and man, really grateful for, especially like my boy Ricky from Open Source and Esky, who really produced and believed in it and facilitated it. And my mate Jeff, aka Molotov, who works on all the graphics and puts so much time into it, But yeah, so we named it Godzilla Podcast initially, and then as it crept on, it started to get a bit of legs, and I started having serious people hit me up about like, where they could take it, sponsorship, and it started to get more traction. More traction and elevated interest. And then I thought, okay, cool. It's going to get to a point where, I already know what the Japanese companies for copywriting did to Farrah Monch. They did my boy dirty, right, with the Simon Says Godzilla thing. So I was like, right, these guys will mean business. So in fear of being absolutely ruined by the Japanese homies, I said, okay, cool. It got a bit of a nickname as GodPod.
Yeah.
And then that was unique. So rather than calling it Godzilla Podcast, it's now God Podzilla Cast.
I like it.
So that way they can't sue us.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
And all that shit. So yeah, man. So now we're just calling it God Pod. Yeah, we've got episode 1 tomorrow of season 2 with Kobe D, who's a fucking awesome upcoming Australian hip hop artist, happens to be Indigenous as well, man, has some crazy stories, and I've got a really good affinity and connection with this kid, so it should be good tomorrow. The only bad thing is he hit me up just today and was like, just got to make sure that my kid is all good to be minded, so we'll see how it goes, man. But
the pitfalls of recording. I know them all too well.
Hey, pitfalls of recording, the pitfalls of parenthood, the pitfalls of podcasting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
just doesn't end. But, I'm really keen for it, man. And we're trying to expand it as well. So you're going to be seeing a few other little comical things this season. And as far as content goes, I'm going to do reaction videos with some of the artists and guests. And it's going to be humorous. We're going to be on TikTok and ramping that up and expanding on the brand. So, yeah, man, I'm pumped for this year. But amongst all the other fucking things I do, fucking Jesus Christ, it's
time.
Yeah, man. But I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, man. Before we go, I've got to ask you, because anyone who knows you knows you're into your kicks.
Shit, yep.
Man, you've been in the kicks game for a long time. I've got to ask you.
I don't get no respect, but...
All right. All-time favourite kicks on the court and off the court?
Man. I'm going to sound like a bit of a basic guy with off the court, but I'm just going to go at MX90 off the court,
Yeah.
That's been a bit of a staple. It's fluctuated in and out, but MX90 and anything of a shape like that. So, but I'm going to say MX90 as the sticking point, just because comfort, particularly this is me getting like really into the semantics, but particularly the cut of the 2020 model. The shape of the toes right, the colors are popping. They're doing some fucking awesome retros. I literally copped about 6 or 7 pairs of them last year. So outrageous. And on the court, it's my pleasure to tell you what my on-court shoe is.
Hit me with it.
Ready?
Yep.
Reebok Question Low.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yep.
Now, I can argue that.
Mate, I do play in the mids as well. But lows obviously always been my thing. And
favorite colorway? What's your favorite colorway?
Look, at the moment, if I was to be just a bit of a show off, I actually managed to nab a pair of, or 2 pairs, 2 colorways of the ice cream, the Billionaire Boys Club, or the Pharrell ice cream collab with Reebok on the Reebok Question lows.
Wow.
So they're pink toe, they're yellow, they're Nubuck suede. They're just...
That's dope.
They're just fucking fire as, man. And they're a bit of a head turner because nobody knows. You've really got to know what you're looking at to know what they are,
Yeah. That's awesome.
And weirdly enough, I got them in Australia for retail because nobody gives a shit about them. So that was fantastic. So that's my favourite colorway at the moment. But there's 2 colorways I'm currently really after. There's an oatmeal one, which is white with beige as the highlights. And I can't... Quinn Cook wore him last year, and ever since I've been hunting him, and I'm going to get him, but the Kobe yellow toe Question mid, when he was, shopping for his new deal, they recently just dropped on Christmas Eve, and they're still out in the market, so I'm going to nab a pair of those. My boy got him, so big shout out to Jeremy Brown for grabbing him and rubbing him in my face in my Instagram DMs, but... your boy's going to catch up. So, yeah, definitely the yellow toes are sought after one.
I really love the grey with the navy.
Georgetown? The Georgetown joints?
Yeah.
100%. They actually did a similar colour that you probably like, but it was, I think it was the Dallas Cowboys version.
Oh, right. Oh, well, that'd be all right.
Yeah. It's basically the same sort of deal because Georgetown's cost a fucking arm and a leg. But you don't want to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
But you'll get the same look out of these other ones. So, If you wait off on this shirt long enough, you might just have the interest might be a pair of them, and therefore, who knows? Because, man, I still feel absolutely indebted, and, I know before we go, I don't want to ramble on too much here, but I still have that fucking Slinks cap that you gave me.
Classic.
Absolute classic, my friend. I still rock that with absolute pride. That snapback got so much wear that it's being held together by a Band-Aid, but does that stop me from wearing that sucker?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I got duct tape on my on the back.
Yeah, the man, and you know what? You leave the duct tape on there. You're not out here trying to...
That's pride right there.
Yeah, we're not going to the tailor to get that shit replaced. No way. But yeah, man, that's a massive one for me. And I actually heard that, the NBA is looking for franchises, so I could potentially rock a Seattle. I mean, I know that's been talked about for fucking years, but could you imagine a Supersonics franchise comes back? and I get to wear that hat and be a relevant man, and people don't think that I'm just some old hack.
But the God, like, I don't know. I'm sure it's the same when you rock that, because when I rock it, I always get questioned about it. Like, oh man, dope hat. Like when I take my kids to basketball training, all the old dads, all the hoop heads will come up and like, oh man, really like your Sonics cap. Play it cool.
Thanks for actually knowing who the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Actually, it's so funny, man. Like, okay, I feel really bad, right? But I'm going to put this test out to everyone. Mm-hmm. So the other day I was sitting there, I was at work, and I'm on my lunch break. I've got league pass up, and I'm watching a game or something, and I'm just going through the fucking standings as well, and I'm just like, fuck, there's 30 teams now, right? And I thought, I'm the fucking man. Like, I know all these teams, right? I could write them down without looking at anything on a piece of paper right this second, right? Bro, I'm going. I get to 19,
Start drawing blanks.
Get to 23. I'm fucking, I'm cold sweats, I get to 26, 27. I think it was 26, right? And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, fuck, I can't, for the life of me, right?
Yeah.
And here's me. I'm thinking fucking, like Seattle,
Yeah.
Like, no. Oh, okay. See, that was the link. Bro, it was so hard. And I put that game to like Mackenzie. She got 26.
Yeah.
Mackenzie's dad got 26. So anyway, we put it out there, and so far, not one person has been able to name 30. I'm sure that you can, but man, I started drawing blanks, bro. And the worst thing is, there's a couple of dead ass teams in there that I didn't fucking remember. Or teams that are irrelevant to me. Sorry to the
Sacramento fans out there.
The Luau Cinder fans.
Yeah.
But the Bucks can eat a fat one.
Yeah.
And man, I forgot the Phoenix Suns.
Oh shit!
Even with the Booker man coming out doing some damage this season, it was just just being forgetful for me.
That's funny, man.
You'd be surprised with who you forget, though. It was pretty damaging, to one's ego. Basketball knowledge ego.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, hey, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I just want to give you the forum, man. Anything you got going on, anything you want to plug, go for it, man.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, bro. Prayer Hand Emoji, that's coming out this Friday. Mm-hmm. Also got another track with Motley and Nina Nicole, a.k.a. Empress MC. That's coming out too in about a month's time. And I've got an LP coming out. But, man, just keep an eye out for my stuff. Just add me the inserts, probably where I'm easiest at Lee Monro, LeeMonro. And, man, big shout-out to the artists that I'm sort of managing, taking care of at the moment, Double L, Corrupt Consortium. And make sure you check out the podcast, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. We'll have you on the show again, man.
Without doubt.
Yeah.
Without doubt, I'm there. You name it.
And I'll put all the links up in the show notes for everyone, so if you want to check that out, please feel free to do so. We gone.
We out.
Watch out! Here it comes. Watch out! Here it comes. Watch out!
Ball.